you don't choose the sport. It chooses you. It just does. And it just happens. And luckily for me, it did in Kearney, New Jersey, a small blue-collar town. New York Giants over there, thank you very much. Sarleville. Seahorn, yeah, LT was my big man, sorry. Giant Stadium was 15 minutes away from my house. So that was my backyard. And I grew up in Kearney, as I said, it was right near Newark, tough town, really tough town. And my parents from Scotland. My dad was from Dundee, Scotland, and my mom was from Paisley. And I grew up speaking like this in my house in New Jersey, so I got my ass kicked quite a bit. But it was a good life. As far back as I can remember, I played soccer. I loved it. And my older brother Jimmy, who at the time, as far back as I can go, I was about 4, same as I think Britton said he was 4, playing hockey, maybe, yeah. So 4 years old, and games exposed to me. My older brother Jimmy, he's tall. I mean, he's just a big boy. He's now 6'4", so I was the runt of the family. And I was tiny. I was really small. And my dad was coaching my brother's team, and so I was a little pain runt on the sideline, saying, "This isn't fair. Come on, Dad." And so finally, he turns to me and he sees me, and it's like he's looking around, and I'm wondering, like, what's he doing? He's breaking some law. I don't know what he's doing, but and he goes, "His shirt," and he puts me this shirt on, big, massive shirt, and it's like all the way down here to my ankles. I look like an idiot. And he goes, "Go quick, get on." So he sends me on the field at 4 years old with everybody, and I'm like looking up and like probably run through their legs. I was tiny, but it was something that I learned from that experience. After the game, I was like, the adrenaline was flowing. I was 4. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, playing with the Giants. No pun intended at all. Big boys, playing with the big boys. And my brother was just like, get away from me, leave me alone, all that stuff. But there was 2 things. One is that being bigger, the size, the physicality at that point wasn't the most important thing. And then 2 for me was that, wow, I fell in love with this game right away. Right from then. I mean, I knew. I had to do it. And so I was fortunate that my dad did take on and coach me, throughout. He had played in Scotland as well, but he didn't play pro. He tried out for pro teams and never made it. He was a little bit frustrated, but he was a very good coach and a teacher in the game, and he raised us all. Like, he didn't force us to play the game. He said, whatever you want to do in life, whether you want to play a sport or you want to be a doctor, you want to be a fireman, it doesn't matter, you want to be a teacher, be the best that you can be. And that was a lesson that I learned early from my father. And it was very difficult growing up in Kearney, and we didn't have a lot. And like I said, high school education from my mom and dad, came over here to make a better life, find an opportunity, get some work, and trying to raise us. But it was like a Scottish, English, Irish kind of town. It was like all these immigrants that came over in this small part of New Jersey. And all we did was play soccer. So I was getting in trouble a lot from the law, and not in a bad way, but because I was getting kicked off with all the football fields over there, or the baseball fields. So you're not allowed to play there, kid. If I come back, I'm gonna take your ball. I'm like, okay, thanks. All right, officer, and then, we walk away, and then they come back. And then we would have to hide, and the one that got caught, you got abused for a couple of weeks, but your father had to come down to the station. You know what I'm talking about, right? So he'd come down to the station, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm Jimmy Harkes, and that's my son." And he'd go, "Okay, he shouldn't be playing on the fields, man. We shut them down, the lights were on, it's locked fence." And he's like, "Yeah, no, sorry about that." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'll let him go, but don't let him do it again." He's like, "Okay." And my dad's standing there, and he goes, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "Well, give him his ball back." And he's like, "Well, we kind of keep it, we keep the money." My dad was like, "No chance." Give the kid his ball back. So finally got it, and I looked up to my dad, and it's like one of those things where you just go, "All right, Dad." you know? But you learn your lesson too, because then the ball, for me, was my best friend. And I took it everywhere with me. It was just one of those kids that I just did. And it was like, go to school, walk to high school, and you just dribble a ball. And then you get into school, and then you put your books away, which I did a lot. And then you got the ball out again. And I played before school in the morning, where we sit in first period, and you're all sweating. Your teacher looks at you and says, what the heck's wrong with this kid? And then you played at lunchtime, and then you played at the end of school. And then you went to go play with your club team, and then you went to the next level. But for me, it was just something that helped raise me in a way. That was a connection. And that connection was to everybody else that was on the field and all the different fine families that were there and the dynamics and the Brazilians that came into town, the Portuguese, the Irish, the Scottish. It was that type of global connection that it was. And from that perspective, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I get to learn so many different friends, right, that you connect through the game. And we say that today, that the game connects everybody. Every sport connects somebody, you know, in some aspect or way. But for me, it was like a freedom of expression. It was like, this is who I am. And then you get that platform, and you're like, wow, I get to express myself. And you know, it's not like you're an artist or anything in the creative arts, but it's still, that's where you go, where you can be who you are and feel good about it. And that's a confidence builder. And I think we know, you know, you guys know, I see a lot of nods, that it's something that goes inside of you, and you can't explain it. It just happens, right? I mean, it's like you're meant to do this, and so you do it. And had a lot of nurturing from my mom. I would lose games 6-0, you know, so I was always playing older ages. I was playing up, and she'd be the first to come off the field. John, you did great. I was like, really? You think so? I'm not so sure, Mom. We lost 6-0, you know, 6-0, and she'd be like, hi, but it could have been 8. Thought you did well. Keep it going, son. I was very optimistic, you know, it was a good life. She was a positive one. My dad would be like, oh, not so sure. You got some problems, John, you know, I'm married, that's not keep working. But I had that balance in my life. Didn't have a lot of academic structure, and as I got into high school, I was smart enough to figure out high school and the books and everything else, but I was a freshman on the varsity team, which was the first time in 16 years that happened, and I was still 5'2" as a freshman, and I weighed 98 pounds. The only reason I know that is because my friend convinced me to wrestle my freshman year, which was weird. Some outfit I had to put on. I'll tell you, Ryan Mackey today, he's a high sports performance coach for my Greenville Triumph team down here, which I feel very lucky and blessed that he is here, and he's fantastic. But he could see me in that outfit, right? Not really. But so while everybody was running underneath the high school, down in that level where it was underneath the boiler room where it was sweating and everybody's trying to lose weight to make weight for wrestle, I was trying to eat pizza and gain weight because I was wrestling 101. So I was tiny. And I didn't really grow until like my junior year of high school. But I had success there. We did well. We had a 4-year state championship team in high school, which was great. That gave me more of an exposure and a platform to get an education. And so through the game, through sport, I was able to, again, use that as a platform and express myself, but to get to that next level, to get out. And then I've heard that earlier, somebody was speaking about an escape. It was more like, how am I going to survive, right, Mo? How am I going to survive? What am I going to do? There were so many other better players than me in New Jersey, in New York, in Pennsylvania, all around. But for one reason or the other, like, they didn't advance further. A lot of my friends, I lost a lot of friends through drugs and alcohol in a tough environment. And so when kids are today like going to hang out and play video games, I was climbing the Black Bridge. It's in Newark. It was like 300 yards up in the air. That was in the Phil Manny. So I was on that. So that's what we were doing. And my parents didn't know. I was going to Rangers games, New York Rangers games, and I was hopping on the PATH train in Harrison, New Jersey with $1 in the afternoon. And so we were free, we were outside, it was a different life. It was just, my parents didn't care, you're outside, play, go play. And I didn't see them all day. So I was going to, scout tickets for Rangers games in second period for $5. I was like, yeah. We get in, and we come back, we're like, I was at Richie's house. His mom didn't call you? So it was that kind of lifestyle. We had a lot of freedom there, but we needed that kind of culture. But what we always had, and we talk about it, some other athletes were talking about it tonight, is that discipline and that work ethic that you have. And that's something that has always been in me, and I think I fought with that to compete with my older brother. I always wanted to be with the big boys, and that kind of drove me in a way, but it also, it kind of defined me, like, this is what I love to do, and it built a confidence in me to kind of be successful, because I'm like, I want to get there. Or when you guys talk about, I want to go to the show, I want to get to the major leagues, I want to get to the NFL, I want to go to the NHL, whatever it may be, and mow your platform and everything else. And Blakely, you know too, and, you know, for me it was like, I want to go pro. So my backyard was in New York Cosmos, and that was like, the World All-Star team was like 15 minutes away in Giant Stadium. And I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, and I was like a ball boy for them. So I was like high-fiving Pele when I was like this. So I was like, yeah, all right. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this, you know, one day. He's like, okay, all right, kid. But those were my dreams. And so coming out of high school, we were like, wow, my dad was like, John, you can get an education. You can go to get a scholarship. You got Duke here on the call, UCLA, you got UVA. I was like, you know, okay, I want to go pro. And he was like, oh, okay, oh, I don't think I read the paper. Here it is, Star Ledger. New Jersey Star Ledger. I'm like, oh, what does that say? The NASL collapsed, folded. So there goes my dream right there. I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, I'll go to school. Yeah, can I play there? Okay, I'm gonna go. So I went to UVA, luckily, very fortunate. And I was definitely out of my element, and academically, but also socially. And everybody had an Audi or Mercedes or BMW, and I didn't even have a bike. I was like, get my bike down here, Dad, come on. So, yeah, so it was difficult. But again, it was like that comfort zone that you always have in soccer. That's that love affair you have with soccer. Like in the ball, you're like, oh, there you are. That's the connector. That's what it was for me. And you fast forward, knee surgery, junior year of high school. Not a major one, but still a setback for me. But I kind of wanted that setback to drive me further to get, you know, to the next level again. And how am I going to come back from that? You know, foot surgery in my junior year of college, but it was just before the Olympics, and I was like, oh my God, because I was getting selections to go on trials with the Olympic team, and I don't want to bore you guys with a lot of that process and stuff, but I won the Mac Herman Award, the best player in the country in college, sort of like the Heisman. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like that's this is my chance. If I get this, then I can go to the Olympic team. Maybe I work, you know, represent the national team as well, the seniors. And then I broke my foot, 5th metatarsal in March. And luckily, the '88 Olympics, that's how old I am. Yeah, black and white TVs, big time. So it was like, I want to still be there. And that summer, for some specific reason, I have no idea why, but normally the Summer Olympics are when? Right? You think, you know, July, right? Something like that. This one was pushed back a little bit later, so it gave me an opportunity to recover. And I did recover from that, 3.5 months, and I came back and I played, and I got selected, which was awesome. And there's no better feeling to represent your country. It's absolutely incredible. And even at all the pro levels that I played at, when you step on that field and you're wearing red, white, and blue, and you have that crest on your heart, it's pretty amazing. You know that you're lucky, and there's so many people that want to be in your position, so you don't take it for granted. And then you put that jersey on with love all the time. So that worked out extremely well. That was fun. And when I came back to my senior year in college, I was like, whew, that was a great experience. And my coach, Bruce Arena at the time, who is probably the best coach in the country in soccer history in the U.S., who coached in 2002 and 2006 World Cups, he sat me down and said, hey, you know, we got to talk. And I said, well, what's up? It wasn't my keg. I returned that keg already. The tap was not mine. You know, it was a brother keg. It was from somebody else. And you know what I'm talking about. And he's like, no. It was, I got a call from the United States Soccer Federation, and they want to get serious about getting back to the world stage in the World Cup. And we had, at that time, just a little history lesson, we had 1950 was the last time that the US represented in the World Cup. And so it was a 40-year absence, but we had qualifying rounds coming up to get to 1990, and that was through 89. But what the Federation wanted to do, which was unprecedented at that time, was to actually sign us full-time contracts to keep us together, to train properly, to go to Colorado and the Olympic training centers and do everything together as a team. And so I had to forego school. You know, it's like, you know, this is your chance. You want to be a pro? Well, here you go. It's your first contract. And it just seemed odd. It was a big challenge for me because my mom and dad had worked so hard, and I know they wanted me to get my first degree, you know, in their family and being a first-generation American, and it was a big decision. And I know you probably think like, no, it wasn't. It was easy. You want to go pro, but it wasn't because I was that close. I was like a year away from it, and it was a big chance because you're going into the unknown. It's a risk, you know. You're giving that up, and so I did it, and I knew I had to go all in with it, and I loved the game again. And once again, I see the ball. I'm like, "Hello, my friend," and here we go. Let's do this. You know, this another journey. Worked out well. We qualified, thank God. We got to Italy, where it was hosted there. We lost every game in the World Cup. Lost every game, but it was the fact that we were there, that we were represented, that we got back to that stage after 40 years. And then we hosted in '94, which was tremendous. I'll skip to that a little bit later, but I got exposure again at that platform in Italy. And I got a trial with an English team, pro team, similar to you going overseas, going into the unknown, and the fear factor of leaving home and all the comforts that are there, but you got to take on these challenges. So for me, I wanted to do it. I went over. Long story short, I made it. I finally signed a contract. Within 7 months, I got my contract, really a pro contract with the club, not my national team, but a pro club. Scored goal of the year, and then won a league championship winner's medal, equivalent to like the Super Bowl or the World Series, or you know, lifting the Stanley Cup, or you know, in 7 months. In 7 months against Manchester United. And the players that I were playing against were on my wall. So I was like, what is going on? And I was just 23 at the time, and it was everything coming so fast. But 7 years over there, I was the first American to play in the English Premier League. Came back here to help establish Major League Soccer in 1996. Another big decision to make, because my son Ian was born over in England. But my family, you know, was coming first, and my wife and I were thinking, you know, and she was a pro player as well, my wife, and we're like, you know, we want to raise our kids in the States, we want to be around family, support system, it's very important. And so, came back here, established Major League Soccer. I was at DC United in the first 3 years. I also played New England Revolution, kicked a 48-yard field goal against Vinatieri. Yeah, felt good about that, actually. Felt really good about that. And then I was at Columbus Crew, and at Columbus Crew, I was coming towards the end of my career, you know, kind of thinking I'm, you know, 34, 35, but I was fit enough, and I kept thinking I could probably play this to 38, 39. That's what you think in your mind, you know, you're like fit. 6 surgeries later, you don't think about it, you still push it to the side anyway. You're like, okay, I can still keep going here, because that you think that defines you. You think that's the only person you are, but you're not. You're actually more. And you know, we won an Open Cup tournament there, a trophy. Lamar Hunt, who was our owner, Lamar passed away. It was fantastic. They named the U.S. Open Cup trophy after him. We won it for him at Columbus Crew. It was pretty special. And then that following year, I retired. I was going to continue playing. I had an 18-month hip flexor issue. I tore my hip flexor. I had a groin problem. Later on, figured out that the one doctor misdiagnosed it, and I was bone on bone. So I played like 18 months bone on bone, which was not good. It's not good. It's real sore. And at that time, I started building a family. As I said, my wife sacrificed a lot for me, even though she was a player as well, but we understood each other and the commitment that it takes. But you're not ready to retire. You're not. It's just, you don't even want to think about it. You don't, because that's all you knew. That's what gave me the confidence as a young kid. That's the confidence to break out of Kearney, New Jersey. That was the confidence to avoid drug and alcohol and play a game and get to a university and go to the Olympics and all that stuff. So it's something you don't want to let go of. And it was a hard thing for me at that time, and I know I talked to you, Lillian, and you're like, oh, your story flows so nice. I'm like, no, it doesn't really, but it's because you feel like that is the only thing you can do, because you get so trapped in it, you get pulled into it, and it absorbs you. And the number one thing for you at that time is like, what am I going to do? How am I going to move on? Where am I going to go? And that was a big choice, to retire. But I did. It was really difficult. You get lost for a little bit. Lucky enough for me, I did some television overseas. I flew out to LA. I was working with Fox for a while, covering the game. Then I switched to ESPN. So I got to still be close enough to the game and commentate on the game and travel to the World Cups and see it, and which was fantastic. But you're still separate. You're not there. You're not kicking the ball anymore, and it's a difficult feeling. I switched to coaching. I was always coaching youth soccer because I always wanted to give back to the game, and I raised my kids on the game. They love it. And so the pro soccer kind of took its turn for the right way as a coach and a teacher to give back. And then, like you said, Blakely, too, it's like, how do you understand what your experience was, that you were fortunate enough to respect the game and then to give back into the game by teaching and by coaching. So here I am, pro coach. I've been doing it for about 4.5, 5 years now as a head coach. I've done it since 2007 as an assistant in the game. God bless you. God bless you. Don't do it again. I'm kidding. Yeah, very fortunate at the game, and now I'm here with Greenville Triumph. Fantastic to be down here and build a club from scratch. Nothing last year. A lot of big challenges with that, and you can only do it with good people. So I was lucky to have Ryan on my staff. It was, in the area and already established himself as a professional, and brought him in. Another friend of mine, Matt Hodgkin, here is at Bob Jones University, head coach, who came back in here. We use their facilities to train in Greenville Triumph, and Matt's been a great resource as well and very supportive of our club. And so now you fast forward to coaching and teaching the game, and you always look back on it and you say to yourself, like, what did the game give to me? And you take that with respect and love, and then you pass it on to the next player. So I'm creating a platform for players to develop in our system here, but then to get to the high levels if they can. But at the same time, it's the life skills. It's the experiences that I had, and the do's and don'ts, and what you don't want to do, and the pitfalls and everything else. And hopefully we can coach them in the right way. We got to the final championship game in the first year last year. Thank you. And the guys were great. They have great character. Number one, I always select players' character first above ability. And they're a great team. So I know all of you have been out to all of our games. Thank you. I've seen you once there. Okay. But no, we played at Legacy Early College. We trained at Bob Jones, as I said. I know there's a lot of history at Legacy Early College that I hear from many Greenvillians down here. And it's a great place to be. It's a good, fun game. You bring families out there, the kids and everything else. So hopefully we could see you out there and support. And, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for all the other athletes sharing your stories.